Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be doing a little Janmanthon today, basically a really profound churning of knowledge. We're unpacking a fascinating, honestly super reflective discourse by Osho on the Ashtavakra Maha Geeta. We're going to explore the deepest, kind of hidden layers of a spiritual seeker's journey toward true awakening. Let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a massive existential question. The kind that echoes in the heart of, well, absolutely every seeker. How long will we wander? Osho points out a really fundamental truth here. Basically, as long as the I, the ego, exists, the wandering is going to continue. We're the wanderers. But paradoxically, we are also the very ones keeping ourselves endlessly lost. Crazy, right? To figure out how to stop all this wandering, here is our spiritual roadmap. We'll look at the stages of the journey. First, the ultimate law and journey. Second, ego, the root of wandering. Third, dreams and the unconscious. Fourth, false labels of identity. And finally, intellect to enlightenment. Let's hit the road. Starting with stage 1, the ultimate law and the journey. Let's look at the unseen forces governing our reality. Different ancient traditions actually point to the exact same hidden truth. Lao Tzu called it Tao, Buddha called it Dhamma. The ancient Vedas, they called it Rita. Think of science as finding the visible rules. Stuff like gravity, magnetism, light. Those are like individual beads. But Tao, or Dhamma, that's the hidden thread holding all those scientific beads together. You literally can't see the thread, but without it, the entire necklace just scatters everywhere. Osho describes navigating this ultimate law through a really beautiful trinity. First, you have the Tao. That's the ultimate law, the actual destination. Second, there's Sakshi, or the witness. This is the path itself. It's the process of waking up so completely that absolutely no random thoughts cloud your mind. And third, Tathata, or Suchness, the attainment. This is when the seeker finally truly merges with the ultimate law. The destination, the practice, and the final achievement just beautifully flow into one another. It's the moment the river finally meets the ocean and just becomes the ocean. So why haven't we merged with it yet? Well, that brings us to stage 2. Ego, the root of wandering. I absolutely love how the mystic poet Kabir captured the sheer irony of our situation. He said, "I laugh when I hear that the fish in the water is thirsty." I mean, think about that. Just like a fish that's never left the ocean doesn't even know what water is, we are constantly surrounded by the divine, yet we're frantically searching for it. We look everywhere on the outside, completely ignoring the fact that what we're looking for is already within and all around us. Understanding why we avoid looking inward really comes down to the mechanics of the ego. The ego thrives, literally feeds on saying no. It has to establish boundaries to feel distinct and separate. It's exactly like a child building their own identity by rebelling against their parents. The ego survives by defiance. Think of Adam eating the forbidden apple, right? Taking that risk builds our sense of I. The ego is terrified, deeply fearful of actual union with the ultimate law, because to truly merge means the ego itself has to die. There's this brilliant story Osho narrates from Rabindranath Tagore that highlights this perfectly. So a seeker spends lifetimes, literally lifetimes, searching for God. Finally, he arrives right at God's doorstep. He's about to knock, but suddenly, he just freezes. He realizes that if he finds God right now, the search is totally over. His entire identity as a seeker will be annihilated. So what does he do? He slowly takes off his shoes so he won't make a sound, and he just runs away. He keeps searching everywhere else just to keep the thrill of the journey and, of course, his ego completely alive. Moving on to stage 3, dreams and the unconscious. This is where our authentic truths actually reside. Okay, wrap your head around this fascinating paradox for a second. It is an illusion, therefore it is true. During his discourse, Osho asks about this crazy vivid dream they had while meditating. Osho tells them yes, it was an illusion, but he confirms that this actually makes the answer profoundly true. Why? Because it didn't come from the deceptive conscious mind. It bubbled up directly from the unfiltered, deeply honest layers of the internal self. Let's break down this dual nature of the mind. Our waking mind, it is incredibly skilled at creating false narratives. We justify absolutely everything. Osho notes that even Hitler believed he was a pure, saintly man doing the world a huge favor. He didn't smoke, he didn't eat meat, and he used those exact traits to convince himself of his own righteousness. Our conscious mind is just heavily layered with these thick self-deceptions. But our unconscious mind, the one that speaks through dreams, it strips all those lies away. It reveals our suppressed realities, no filters attached. Get this. Take the remarkable true story of the American clairvoyant Edgar Cayce. As a young boy, he sat by a dying man, fell into this incredibly deep trance, and while completely unconscious, spoke the exact name of a medical cure he consciously knew absolutely nothing about. They went out, found the medicine, and the man was actually saved. By tapping into the profound depths of the unconscious mind, Cayce completely bypassed all the limitations of his waking intellect. It's wild. That leads us nicely into stage 4, false labels of identity. We're talking about the supreme courage it takes to become a nobody. You know, society is constantly pasting these external labels onto us. Our name, religion, caste, nationality, and we get incredibly attached to these stickers. But our actual reality, it's an empty box. Deep down inside, our true, authentic self remains beautifully empty. It's an undefined, pure consciousness. When we start meditating and those labels begin to peel off, we tend to panic. We feel empty, totally not realizing that this emptiness is exactly what we are supposed to be. When those labels finally do fall away, we arrive at the profound wisdom of Socrates. He famously declared, "I know one thing, that I know nothing." Honestly, claiming absolute ignorance is actually the purest form of wisdom. Think about the immense bravery it takes to stand before the world and say, "I don't know who I am, and I don't have all the answers." It completely strips away that false arrogance of borrowed secondhand knowledge. Authentic spiritual seekers drop that burden completely. And this is exactly why Buddha often responded to unanswerable, highly philosophical questions with pure, unyielding silence. He just flat out refused to give people more false concepts to cling to. Osho points out that true sannyas, like the genuine spiritual path, it isn't about becoming special or, wearing your spirituality like a shiny badge of honor. It's about living ordinarily, shedding the ego, and finding absolute freedom in the simple reality of just not knowing. Finally, we reach stage 5, intellect to enlightenment, moving entirely beyond the mind. So think of the intellect, or buddhi, as looking out at a really beautiful portion of the sky, but through a window. It gives you a great glimpse, for sure, but you're restricted by the window's frame. Enlightenment, or buddhatva, that's when you finally just jump out of that window and dive into the boundless open sky. Now, the intellect is incredibly useful. Don't get me wrong, it's a vital stepping stone that actually brings you to the window in the first place. But eventually, to reach true liberation, you just have to abandon the frame entirely. Osho beautifully connects this leap to the famous Hindu Gayatri mantra and the Sanskrit root word di. Sanskrit is such a wonderfully fluid language. Di can mean basic intellectual thought and contemplation, so that's the view from the window, right? But as you evolve spiritually, di expands. It comes to mean deep oceanic meditation and total surrender, the open sky itself. The mantra perfectly captures this journey, guiding the seeker to evolve from merely thinking intellectually to profoundly, limitlessly meditating. Well, we've explored an incredible amount today in this Vichar Darshan. We've mapped the whole journey from the boundary-making ego and the deceptive conscious mind, all the way out to the boundless open sky of true enlightenment. But to actually get there, we have to stop running. We have to face our true empty nature and shed those external stickers society has placed on us. So I want to leave you with a final provocative question to chew on. As you look at the beautifully empty box of your true self, what labels are you ready to drop today?